What if what you've been feeling lately? Isn't it confusion, tiredness, or anxiety? What if it's the silent sign that something much bigger is being activated within you? There is a spiritual symptom so rare, so profound, that it only appears in souls destined for something great. It doesn't come with lights or dramatic revelations, but when it does, everything changes. If you are here, it is not by chance. This video can show you that you were never broken, you were just awakening to your true mission. Before we begin, here's an important invitation: take some time of your own, take a deep breath, and get ready to dive into the 8 hidden layers that mark the awakening of the most powerful chosen ones. Don't skip any. Number May 5th be the one that will unlock everything you've been feeling lately. And if at any time you recognize yourself in the words, comment below, "I am one of the 8." Let's activate together what the world still doesn't understand. Brace yourself, for what you are about to realize is not something that everyone can relate to. This goes beyond angel numbers or meditation apps. This is something that happens only to a few people in the world, people who are not only awakening spiritually, but who were born to guide others out of the fog. You may not know it yet, but there is a spiritual symptom that you have been experiencing that marks you as one of the chosen ones. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, in fact, most people ignore it completely. But for those who feel it, that single symptom begins to change everything: their thoughts, their emotions, their identity, their entire reality. Most people dismiss it when it starts, attributing it to stress, burnout, or being awkward. But this symptom is not confusion, it is activation. That's what happens when your soul starts remembering why it came here. And here's what makes it so rare: this symptom doesn't visit everyone. It only appears to those whose energy is powerful enough to bear the weight of collective transformation. If you have experienced this, it is no accident. It is not temporary and does not go away. Let's discover the 8 layered experiences that make up this rare and powerful symptom, and why, if you're feeling them, you're not just awakening, you're being chosen. This waking symptom begins silently. It does not arrive like thunder, but glides on an ordinary day. You're driving to work, rolling your phone, folding your laundry, and suddenly the thought arises, "That doesn't feel like me anymore." Your job, your relationships, your goals, your identity, it all starts to feel borrowed, as if you've inherited a life that was never truly yours. You start asking questions you've never asked before: why do I care about this? Who told me it mattered? When did I stop feeling alive? At first, you can try to ignore it, change your routine, go on a trip, do something fun. But the feeling deepens, grows into something heavier, a kind of energetic mismatch between your inner self and your outer life. This is the first layer of the awakening of the chosen one, the dismantling of the false self. Not everyone goes through this, most people can sleepwalk through life forever. But the chosen ones are torn from their old reality, whether they are ready or not. You will feel torn, part of you wants to get back to comfort, but you can't. The illusion no longer fits, and even if you try to go back, the door's close, because this is not just change, it is departure. You are leaving behind a whole version of yourself, and once that begins, you cannot unknow what you now feel. After the initial disconnection from your environment, the second change hits harder: your relationships begin to change. People you once felt close to start to seem distant. Conversations seem superficial, the pace between you changes. You can sit across from someone you've known for years and suddenly feel like you're speaking a different language. This is not because you are better than them, it is because your energy is moving into a higher resonance and theirs may not be. This misalignment creates friction. You'll notice awkward interactions, friends becoming evasive, loved ones misinterpreting your words, social spaces that once seemed welcoming now feel energetically heavy. This can be incredibly lonely, and most people are so afraid of this phase that they abandon their awakening just to keep the peace. But the chosen ones cross it anyway. Why? Because their soul will not let them pretend again. You may not realize it at the time, but this part of the symptom isn't about rejection, it's about recalibration. The universe is rearranging your relationships to match the frequency at which you are growing. It hurts, it isolates, but it also prepares you to attract connections that reflect the truth of who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Suddenly, the world becomes very noisy, very bright, very overwhelming. Environments you used to navigate easily, crowded places, social events, high-stimulation spaces, start to sell you out quickly. This is not social anxiety, it is energetic sensitivity. Your system is no longer tuned to tolerate what you previously unconsciously absorbed. Your senses become sharper, you start to feel people's intentions, their stress, their energy. You may find yourself needing more solitude, more nature, more silence, not out of fear, but out of necessity. Your body craves recalibration. You may even become sensitive to food, technology, or noises that you previously ignored. This can be confusing and inconvenient, but it is not weakness. It is a sign that your field is being purified for a higher purpose. The chosen ones don't just see the world, they feel it, and that's not easy in a society built on emotional numbness and hyperstimulation. This phase forces you to create limits, to choose where your energy goes, to realize that protection is not isolation, it is preparation. You are being trained to feel what others ignore, and this sensitivity is not a defect, it is your compass now. As his awakening deepens, something strange happens, his impulse to prove himself begins to fade. You may still be successful, you may still have goals, but the hunger to dominate, to overcome, to be the best begins to dissolve. At first, this may seem like you're losing your ambition, but you're not. You're just replacing competition with purpose. You no longer care about climbing stairs that lead to nothing meaningful. Your ego stops craving applause, and in its place comes a desire to serve, create, and express without seeking validation. This is where the chosen ones really start to separate themselves from the crowd. While others seek visibility, you seek impact. While others want control, you want alignment. You start to realize that your value has never been on your resume, your followers, or your salary. Your soul doesn't want to win, it wants to awaken. And once that desire becomes your guiding star, you stop needing to fight for space in systems you no longer believe in. Instead, you start building what others haven't yet dared to imagine. You start to notice this in small moments. You check the time and realize that an hour has passed when it felt like 5 minutes, or the opposite, you've only been sitting for a minute, but it feels like you've floated through hours of thoughts. This is not a lack of focus, it is not distraction. It is the result of awakening consciousness that no longer perceives linear time. Most people live by the clock, routines, deadlines, schedules. But when you begin to spiritually awaken as a chosen one, your perception of time changes completely. Why? Because your consciousness is beginning to connect so deeply with the present moment that the past and the future lose their control. You start to feel like everything is happening at the same time, that intuition is more reliable than plans, that time in life isn't always about control, it's about alignment. You may find it harder to stick to rigid routines or feel disconnected from long-term goals that once drove you. This is not laziness, it is your inner compass shifting from the clock to the frequency of the flow. You start to rely more on internal impulses than on dates. You notice synchronicities, the right people, the right places, the right messages coming when they need them, not when you expect them. And the more you allow it, the more time becomes something you move with, not something you pursue. One of the strangest symptoms of being a chosen one is how much you start to crave loneliness. Even if you're not sad, bored, or lonely, you simply feel better alone. It is not isolation, you still love people, you care deeply. But something inside you starts to feel like you need silence to hear something important. This usually appears after the energetic sensitivity phase. Being around other people too much starts to fog up your own energy. Even casual conversations can be exhausting. It's not personal, it's energetic. You may find yourself walking away from social plans, disconnecting from constant notifications, or spending hours doing absolutely nothing and loving it. This is because your spirit is recalibrating. Solitude becomes your space of integration. It's where the downloads land, it's where your nervous system stops preparing for the noise. Most people fear being alone, but the chosen ones begin to understand that alone is not empty, it is sacred. And ironically, the more time you spend in stillness, the more power you carry when you re-enter the world, because solitude doesn't weaken you, it strengthens your signal. Stillness is where the chosen ones recharge their spiritual clarity and reclaim their task. Something begins to emerge within you. He doesn't speak in words, but he is loud. You feel that there is something that you came here to do, something specific, not only to exist, not only to survive, but to serve in a way that is uniquely yours. But the frustrating part is that you can't define it yet. You don't have the full picture. You may have flashes of this in dreams or moments of inspiration, but the details are vague. You only know one thing for sure: what you're currently doing is no longer enough. This is where many chosen ones begin to struggle with identity. You may start to lose interest in jobs, roles, or labels that once gave you stability. You are no longer satisfied with normal, you are attracted to something greater, even if it has not yet appeared in your outer reality. That feeling doesn't go away. In fact, the more you ignore it, the higher it gets. It's not your imagination, it's your soul signaling that your true mission is beginning to surface. You may not be destined to change the world publicly, your mission can be quiet, sacred, and deeply personal. But whatever it is, it's real, and if you're feeling it right now, it means that your awakening has entered a phase that most people never reach. That's the final layer, and it's the one that changes everything, because once that happens, there's no going back. You lose the ability to pretend. You can't force smiles, you can't engage in meaningless conversations, you can't present yourself as a watered-down version of yourself just to make others comfortable. You don't become rude, you become real. And that authenticity starts to radiate so strongly that it changes the way people respond to you. Some are uncomfortable, others feel magnetized, but you feel free. This is the most profound symptom of the awakening of a chosen one, the return to the truth. You're no longer molding yourself to expectations, you're no longer shaping your identity based on who others want you to be. You are no longer willing to shrink to be liked. You become anchored, not in arrogance, but in clarity. And that clarity makes life simpler, not harder. Decisions become easier, limits become clearer. You stop apologizing for your presence, because once you remember who you are, you stop acting like someone you are not. And it is then that awakening becomes permanent, not because you have mastered everything, but because you have stopped pretending. And in a world built on performance, that makes it extremely rare. If you've experienced these layers, even just a few of them, understand something that very few people hear: you're not going crazy, you're not lost, you're not broken. You are awakening in a way that only a rare few do. This spiritual symptom is not random, it is not a side effect of stress or some temporary change in life. It is your soul activating a deeper timeline, one where you no longer live based on survival, but on remembrance. You are here to help others, yes, but not by sacrificing yourself. You are here to live as a fully awakened, grounded, and powerful being who reflects what truth means in human form. That's why your old life doesn't fit anymore, that's why the world seems louder, that's why you're being pulled in. You are not only going through a spiritual awakening, you are being prepared to lead. If this spoke to you, comment below. I feel this awakening in my soul. Let's claim it together, because the chosen ones don't walk this path alone. And before you go, watch the next video, because now that you've remembered this, the question becomes, how do you protect it from the world that still lives asleep?